Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I am making a Mother's Day card. As per usual, I'm on the back foot. It is Thursday night, and obviously Mother's Day in the UK is on Sunday. And sorry Mum, I haven't actually done your card or got it out in the post yet, but she will understand. She knows that things have been a bit chaotic here. With everything that's going on in the world, both my daughters are now home. My eldest daughter is home from uni and she will be finishing her degree virtually and doing it all via Skype meetings and things like that. And my younger daughter is also now not at school, so I'm having to homeschool her as well. On top of that, I am a nurse in the NHS, so obviously there's lots of planning and prepping for, how we're going to support the acute sector, because I work in the community, how we're going to support those, free up beds, things like that. So it's all a bit bonkers at the moment. So I haven't had loads of time for crafting, and it's just been sod's law that I've had quite a few birthday cards and things that I've had to make this month as well. So this is the first opportunity that I have had. So I started making it, and then I thought I haven't had the opportunity to film much just recently, so why not jump on and I can share what I'm doing with you guys. So I have got as far as creating, I'm going to do an easel card. So I've taken two 6x6 cards and I've glued them together to form like a C shape. Right, you can sort of see that like that, and obviously that will create the easel. So now obviously I've got to decorate them. So I have picked a couple of papers to get started with. So I've picked that spotty paper, which is going to be the front of my card, and then this lovely floral is going to be the base of my card. And I'll need to put something across the bottom here to act as a stop, so that the card doesn't just sort of collapse forward and it'll rest up against whatever we use as a stop. Now, I do hope the lighting is okay. I am filming in my craft room at night, so obviously I have got some new lights. I bought some lights from IKEA. And I think they're making it better, but I'm not really sure. So we'll just carry on and do the best we can. So I've picked those papers. I have been making flowers recently, and the reason I've been making flowers is for my Mother's Day cards. So I've got those ready and off to one side. I just need to pick which ones I'm going to use. I've also die cut this lovely shape of an old tin sort of bathtub, wash tub type thing, and I've just cut that out of it's not completely matte, but it's not really shiny either. It's not like mirror card, but it is a sort of silver, so that it looks like the tub would have done. And I've inked it and distressed it a little bit, not too much, not too heavily, but just enough to sort of give it that aged tub sort of look. So I've got that ready. I've picked out leaves and flourishes, and got a bit of glare there, obs, and just things like that out of my stash in my drawer. So we might add some of those in. I've also got out my nice shiny white fern leaves that I bought a few weeks ago. I have stamped and heat embossed Happy Mother's Day, and that is I've heat embossed that in Silver Dollar, I think it is. I think it might be a Sweet Dixie one. Just have a look if I can get to it. Yeah, so it is Sweet Dixie embossing powder, and it is Silver Dollar. So I have heat embossed that, and then I have just grabbed, and this was the point I was at when I thought, well, I'll switch the camera on. I grabbed my silver Posca pen with the intention of just going around the edge of this double-edged flagged banner, just to give it a bit of a border, because I always think it looks nice like that. Yeah, sod's law. Honestly, I might just give up. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. We'll carry on. Carry on, carry on. There we go. So I am going to put this down to one side for a minute and just let those two strips dry before I do the flag bits, because otherwise I'm going to make even more of a mess of it than I've already done. So I'm going to put it whichever way I want it. I think that folds better that way, because cleverly I like you can see, I wasn't thinking what I was doing when I put it together, and I've actually put the top edge of the card just slightly too close to the top of the fold, so it doesn't fold all that well. But maybe if I trim a very, very slight edge off of the bottom one, I wonder if that might work. Let's see. I'm either going to cure it or make it all 10 times worse. We're about to find out. So I've just taken off the tiniest strip to see if it will fold any better. Oh yeah, actually that's done it perfectly. That now folds completely flat. So obviously that's what we want. So I'm going to do this top. Oh no, which way does it go? Right. I want to make sure that the top join is the neatest bit. So that is going to then determine, so that's got to be nice and neat, and the rough edge where the two joins are I would have as the bottom of my card. I'm not filming this particularly well, but you know. So that's the nice neat edge, and that's going to be the top. So that obviously means that this needs to be the front of my card. So because I don't measure anything, all I'm going to do is take my piece of paper and sort of offer it up to the cardstock, and I'm just going to grab a pencil and I'm going to pop it where I want it, so that there's just the tiniest bit of a border all the way around. So I don't need to cut anything off the sides, but I am just going to need to trim a little bit off the bottom. So I'm just going to make a little mark where I want that to be trimmed, and then I will bring my paper trimmer back in, and I will just reposition that in the trimmer. Make sure it's all lined up properly so it's straight. Which obviously I can't do because I'm on camera. There we go. Oh, for goodness sake. I don't normally struggle this much. I think I'm tired. Okay, so that's that. And just take that bit off. So that should now sit quite nicely on our front of our card, with just a little white border all the way around, which it does. Lovely. So then the other thing that I found in just sort of in my scraps bin was this really nice like whitewashed wood effect, and I think I'm going to put that on the bottom of this sheet of paper so that it's like a floor. So what I will do is make a mark on that so that I can trim that one. So again, just offering that up and making a mark. Now obviously I need to be quite precise with this one, so I need to just get that one in the cutter where I want it and cut that. It's making my camera wobble and shake, I do apologise, but obviously can't help it. Right then, so I'm going to just ink around the edges because I always tend to do that, and I do like the definition that it gives you if you just sort of go around the edge of things with a little bit of ink. So just with a little bit of vintage photo on this one, just go around the edge of that. So not too heavy because I don't want it to look super vintagey. I just want it to sort of frame just very, very subtly the edge of that piece. So that's that. And then I also want to do that on my pink piece. So just get my little basket with all my pink colours in. Chuck everything everywhere, as I'm sure you can hear. Right, what one's going to go best? So we have got sponge sugar, but whether that's going to be a little bit too light. Oh no, actually I think that's really nice. So I'm just going to go around the edge of all four sides on this one. I know that one edge will be covered up on the bottom, but I don't want to have to overly think about it too much, and if a little bit does peek out, I want it to still look finished. So I will try and make it so that this bottom edge, which is a little bit rougher because that's what I cut with the paper cutter, and I am probably about ready for a new blade on my paper cutter. So we'll try and cover that up. I think the other thing is this is paper, patterned paper, as opposed to a lot of the time, like this sort of stuff is more like, it's really heavy duty paper. It's more like a sort of thin cardstock. And that does affect how it cuts. So I'm also just going to bring a little bit of this ink in round the edge of that paper. So it's almost sort of creating a misty sort of, I can't think what they call it when they do it with a camera, and it sort of blurs the edges slightly, and it just draws your attention into the middle. So it'll be really subtle because obviously this spun sugar is almost the same colour as the paper that I'm doing it on, but yeah, I think that looks nice. So now that I've got that, so I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there is just a little bit of inking around the edge, and it's just slightly brighter in the middle there. And then I've got this wood effect patterned piece that I'm going to use as my floor. So let me just grab my tape runner, and I will just pop a little bit of tape on that. There we go. And I've got some glue around here somewhere, I know I have. There we go. Just put a little bit of glue over that. That will just help me to make sure that I've got it in place before it sort of grabs. But also, if the tape sort of doesn't, sometimes tape can sort of fail over time. And this is the proper Scotch tape, so you would hope it wouldn't, but I just think, a little bit of wet glue will just help that long-term adhesion. So there we go. So that's it's almost like my wallpaper with my little floor. And then my my little bathtub for the flowers is going to stand in the middle of that. And then I will be putting my flowers and my foliage around there. And then I've got my little Happy Mother's Day that we will, position once we've got everything into place. So before I actually stick this down, I want to turn my hot glue gun on, because that's what I'm going to use to stick my flowers with. And I want to just have a look at my flowers and see sort of how I'm going to position things, how I'm going to place things, because that will let me know how high up or low down I want to put my tub. So I've got a couple of lilies that I have made, which I think will go really pretty. I will need to just put some stamens in that one if I choose to use 2 of them. I've got loads of little pink filler flowers in here, and that's just, I inked some paper, so it's not a solid pink, it's got lots of texture to it, shaped it, and then that's actually just a piece of millet in the middle there. To give it the little flower centre, which I thought looked really pretty. And then I've got my boxes full of flowers that I have been making recently, and I've got some really pretty ones in here that I made the other day that I think will look really lovely. So I've got these ones, and I have got some smaller ones of those which might look better in this cluster. So I've got a few of those. I've got these really pretty like daisy style ones, so they'll go prettily in this cluster as well. I've got some of these nice pretty shiny pink ones that I made, so I might end up putting some of those in. And I've got these really pretty white glittery ones with the little stamens in the middle. So I've got plenty of flowers to be putting on. I have got some other really pretty ones like this, but they're more peachy than pink, so I'm not sure. They do still go. I might use them, who knows. So I think the best thing to do is start by sort of having a think about where I want my tub to sit, because I do want enough room to put my sentiment down the bottom there somewhere, but I need enough room obviously for the flowers to then sort of be in the tub, but they can be sort of coming down over the front of the tub as well. So I think probably about there. Now, do I want to pop it up a little bit? Let's have a look. So let's chop a bit of this card off and place it underneath, just so we can see what it would look like if it was slightly raised. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to just pop a piece of card underneath like that. Now you could take this piece of the bathtub out, but I'm not going to, because if you see anything behind it, obviously if it was a real tub, it would be the other side of the silver tub that you'd see. It wouldn't be the patterned wallpaper or whatever behind. So that's my rationale for leaving that in. So I'm just going to pause the video a minute while my glue gun heats up, and then I'll put some card on the back of these, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I have put some card in the back of my bath, and I have also just die cut and they're just sort of placed in there for the moment. They're not actually glued in. So then I'm going to start layering in the elements that I've got. So it might be that I want to put in some, you know, some of these lovely glittery leaves, but I think I'll probably start by putting the flowers that I want to use, or some of the flowers that I want to use in. I've got some little leftover bits that I snipped off from the larger of those ferns. So I will start by sort of roughly placing some of the bigger flowers that I want to use just in place. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be their final sort of resting place. It's just to start giving me some idea of how I'm going to be sort of laying this out. Because it's hard to do until you start actually sort of getting things stuck down. Now, do I want another one of those lilies in there? Yes, I do. So I'm just going to pause again, and I'm just going to chuck some of the glittery stamen that I used on that one in the centre of this. Okay, so I've got those in. So I am going to start sticking things down, and I really like where that one is, so I'm going to start by sticking that one down. So just some hot glue on the back of that, and what I'm sort of thinking is, in sticking down these flowers, what it's going to do is also stick these leaves down without me having to stick those leaves down, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to start by getting some of the bigger flowers down on the arrangement, because obviously smaller flowers are easier to place in after the event. So get those on. And once you've got a couple of them down, it then becomes a bit easier to start placing other things around them, because they're not going to shift as you're trying to sort of slot something into place. So I am just having a quick look around me to see what other bits and bobs I've got. So you probably can't hear me because I've just moved away from the camera. Ooh. I am still here. I'm just collecting bits and bobs from my stash. So I've got some like little glittery bottle brushy looking bits, these foam twirly whirly things, and some pearls on. It's almost like stiff fishing wear. All of them have come from AliExpress at some point in the past. So what I like to do with these bits is, usually once I've got my flowers down, I'll see if they sort of tuck in and fit in anywhere around the display. So I'm just going to continue popping flowers on until, see, and I'm already starting to think, yeah, I need a little bit more greenery up there. So I can still at the moment, because the glue's not quite set on that one, just move that one up a little bit, which is lovely. But I still want a little bit of something, so I could use those green bits from there. But I can also put some of those nice white glittery ferns in as well. just to sort of, you know, break things up a bit, have things a little bit, a bit of interest in there as well. So none of those ones are actually glued on yet. I am going to put them in because I like that they are a slightly different colour and they break it up. So with anything like this, don't be afraid to chop it up a little bit. If it's too big, chop a bit off, and then, you know, it'll hopefully fit in the way that you want it to. So you're not going to see the bottom of this because it's going to be tucked under a flower. So just a big glob of hot glue, and then push it down. Now, obviously you've got to be careful with the hot glue that you don't burn yourself. So I've got one of these cheap silicone tipped tools. Like this came from the works in a pack. And I think it's meant to be used with like pastels and things, but I bought it because it's a little silicone thing that I can hold down hot glue with, and then the glue just peels off the silicone tip and I don't burn my fingers, which is always a bonus. So, what else? I've got some more of those glittery ones here, so I'm just finding another couple of those out. Actually, there's some slightly smaller ones, so they'll be quite nice. Okay, I'll put one in like that. So again, just a nice big glob of glue. And I'm just going to tuck that down the bottom there, under the petal of that flower. And again, I'm just going to push it down with my silicone tipped thingy blob. It's a good word for it, isn't it? Don't actually know what it's called. I'm sure somebody out there does. Please feel free to enlighten me as to what it's actually called, because I haven't got a clue. And I do quite like some, you know, bits of the foliage to hang down over the front of the bucket. But as you can see, this is supposed to be the front edge of that bucket. So what I would want to do is make sure that my flower display fills all of that and covers all of that. Because obviously, if this were a display planted in this old bucket, you wouldn't, it would be planted over the rim, if you see what I mean. I don't know. I think I might be talking nonsense sometimes, but hey-ho, keep going. Okay, so one of the daisy ones, I'm just going to bob that one there. Very pretty. I'm going to pop another daisy up about there. Now, my temptation when I'm doing these sorts of things is to go completely wild and put loads of different types of flowers in, but sometimes I think it looks better if it, you know, a little bit more sort of subtle if you stick to a few of the same sort of type of flowers. So I will put some filler flowers in on this one. So I will have a look and see which of my filler flowers looks better, but then I will probably not add any more different types of flowers after that. So we've got the white glittery, which is quite pretty, or we've got pink glittery, which is nice. Oh, how do you choose? And I've got the little pink, almost like forget-me-notty type ones. Oh, I don't know now. I'm completely foxed. I've got some white ones of those. I've got white with pink. I've got white with white. I've got white. Oh my gosh, I just don't know. That might be quite nice because I can use the different coloured centres. Maybe just yellow and white centres maybe. Oh, I'm faffing. I do like to faff. Now, because these are quite little and I'm quite accident prone, I am going to hold them with a pair of tweezers and pop the glue on that way, because otherwise I will burn myself, because it's just what I do. Now obviously I've got this leaf here, so I can slightly rearrange that one. And then I am going to put another couple of these down the front there. So put one up under there. I could put a smaller one of those ones. Oh, it's getting quite full now, isn't it? Don't know whether that's a bit OTD. I think it is. Maybe just stick to the little filler flowers. And this is sort of what I do. I just keep sort of, you know, it's a bit trial and error really. You know, just keep trying things in situ and seeing whether you like it. And then, like I say, I do like to have some elements that hang down. So that would fit in under there. So again, I'm just going to hold that with the tweezers. I'm going to pop it up and under that one. And then I'm going to use my silicone tool to just push that up and under like that. And then that just sits in place. So there's quite a lot of glue strings happening, but that's okay, because what I will do, once I have got it all sort of put together, I'll just blow over it quickly with the heat tool, and that will take down, you know, melt the glue strings so that they will disappear. I've also got some of these green ones, so obviously I could also put those in, or we could put those up on the back there, which I think actually that's probably better. But I don't want them to overhang the edge of the paper, because obviously that's the top of the card and I need to fit this into the envelope. So I'm just again going to snip the bottom of those off, because then I can just position those in where I want them to be, like that. So I'm just going to take a fraction more of that one off and a touch more of that one off, and then again just a case of pop some glue on and tuck that down the back there, and the same with this one, just a little bit of glue on the bottom there. And by just gluing the bottom, not only does it mean that you don't see the glue, which is nice, but it leaves the top of your leaves and your flowers and things free, and that just gives the whole piece a little bit more movement and just makes it look a little bit more realistic, which, you know, that's always nice. I have also got some leaves that I have made previously, so I could see if these will tuck in somewhere. Sometimes if it's looking a bit too much, sometimes it's just that it needs a little bit of greenery adding in. Drop them all on the floor. I'm not sure. Let's put some of these bits in and see what we get. So I'm just going to cut some of these pearls on a string off, and that's one of them. Yep. So I'm just going to pop a bit of glue on the bottom of there and tuck this one in. This is getting to be too long, and I've just had a text message, sorry about that, and I'm trying to read it at the same time. So because this is getting a bit monotonous now, because obviously I'm just you know, trying things and sticking things, what I will do is I will go and finish off the display and stick it to the front of the card, and then I'll come back and show you what I'm going to do just to finish the base of it off, etc. Okay, so I have put all of that together now. So I've finished off the floral cluster. I have tucked a few of those like bottle brushy type ones in up the top there, and some of the pearl stems in. I didn't use any of the curly Q ones. They were just a bit too bulky and not quite delicate enough for this card, so I haven't put those on. I did bring in a few of the pink filler flowers as well, just because it was getting a bit, there was a little bit too much white in there, and I added another one of the little ferns down here just to balance that a little bit. I've then popped on my sentiment, and I have popped that up on some card underneath the bottom there to hold that end bit up so it doesn't squash in the post, and then I have, where I made that little boo-boo at the beginning with the Posca pen, I've just popped one of the little filler flowers, so it looks like there's sort of a few that have fallen from the display and landed on the tabletop or the floor there, and that one's just floating down. So that's the topper done. I have then also put this paper on the bottom, and like I said at the beginning, I need to put a stop to so that the front of the card has got something to rest upon. So this is the one that I've picked out my trim. I use this one quite a lot for stops on easel cards. It's a really pretty one. It's got quite a delicate edge to it, and then it's got the pearls that run down the centre, but it's got a nice bit that you can glue down onto your page. Now if I'm using quite a thick backing paper, I will often take a bead off of either end and tuck it under and glue that down, but because this is just paper, that wouldn't have worked. It's just too bulky for that. So what I'm going to have to try and do is, using hot glue, is glue it down, trim it, and then I'll probably have to try and get a little bit of glue on the end once I've trimmed it, just to stop it fraying too much and to stop the thread with the beads from working its way loose and the end beads sort of falling off. So I am going to pause. We'll do this because this is really tricky. It is just a case of, I put a bit of glue down, glue the end down, and then I just keep putting a bit of glue on and sticking it down, a bit of glue on, sticking it down. But because I want it to be quite straight, or as straight as I'm going to get it, which is not going to be really, really straight, but as straight as I can get it, it is just a little bit faffy. And anything faffy, for some reason, I can't seem to do when I'm being filmed. So I'm better off just pausing and doing it. So I will be back in a moment. Okay, so I've glued that on, and I've just put a little bit of white glue on either end because that'll dry clear and it won't be bulky, but it will just be enough to stop those ends from fraying. So now the edge of the easel part of the card will rest against that lovely pearl trim, and it just keeps the card up in its easel position. So the last thing that I'm going to pop on here is I've got these 3 really lovely glittery pink glittery gems. I'm just going to pop those on the front of the card. I'm going to do it with a little bit of white glue. You could use hot glue, but the white glue just gives me a little bit of wiggle room, and I want to get them reasonably even. So if I put just a little bit of white glue on, put the 2 outer ones on first, and then you can just put your middle one sort of in the centre of those 2, and that way you'll get it sort of lined up quite nicely. So I'll just push that one back a little bit and over a little bit and fiddle with it a little bit until I'm happy with that placement. So that's that. Now I could, if I wanted to, add another few of those flowers so that they're falling down and onto here. But actually I quite like the sort of plain and simpleness of this bottom piece, given that the top piece is so sort of heavily decorated and elaborate. So that's about it for this card. I will put something on the back here. I'll probably cut a die cut out and just write a message to my mum on the back there, and then that's ready to go in the post tomorrow. So I know that you're going to struggle to see that. I'm going to try and move you, and you're going to see my messy desk for a moment. So that's what it will look like stood up on my mum's mantelpiece for Mother's Day. So there we have it. That's my mum's Mother's Day card. I think that's really cute. I have got another one to do because I will make one for my husband to give to his mum, to my mother-in-law. So I will, but I've got obviously a little bit longer to do that one. They live locally. My mum and dad unfortunately live all the way down in Devon, which is about 4.5, 5 hours away from me. So I don't get to see them as much as I'd like to. And obviously at the moment nobody's travelling anywhere anyway, so yeah, I need to get this in the post so that she gets it in time for Mother's Day. So that's my card. I hope you have enjoyed having a look at that. If you entered my 300 subby giveaway, thank you very much and good luck. I will be drawing that later on this afternoon. So my aim is to pop this up about 9 o'clock on Sunday morning, and I will probably do the draw around 4 p.m-ish. So if you haven't already entered my 300 subby giveaway, do go back and have a look at that video. All you've got to do is like, subscribe and leave a comment on that video, and then I will be putting them in for the draw. So yeah, do sort of go over and have a look at that. There's loads of really good prizes in the giveaway to win, so well worth a quick look at that one. So thank you very much for joining me for today. I will be back later on in the week. I have got Smash That Small Paper Bag on Wednesday, and the Stickiest Side of Crafting is due on Friday. So I hope you will join me for that. I have got another birthday card that needs to be done for the end of this month, so I'm sure I will be back on at some time doing that one too. So I hope to see you all again soon. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all again in the next crafty video. Bye for now.